Howdy, howdy, welcome back to my channel. I'm building out an expedition camper. Today we're going to get into a true articulation test, and that is an outdoor articulation test. This is to build upon the static test inside my garage, which I could only articulate the axles or wheels up off the ground only so far based on the jacks and lifts that I had to be able to do this, and not far enough to really truly test this baby out. So today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to get into doing a real articulation test and drive this thing over some big ass boulders and see how she does. All right, let's see if this baby starts up. Well, it starts. So following up on the static tests I did on my garage, now they have the camper built and windows installed, and also a little bit of the interior starting to get built out. I have a little bit of weight, so I would guesstimate that's probably around 2,000 to 2,500 pounds of weight on the back. Still not all that much, but it's something. And so with this added weight, now I can actually compress the suspension and get over some boulders and rocks, which is what I did. So I took it out a local trail that was dried out from the recent snows, still very cold outside, but I was able to get out on this trail and actually go over some boulders. Some of these boulders were actually over 2 feet in diameter, or 2 feet off the ground, and even 3 feet off the ground. And I found that the four-wheel drive system was actually more than adequate enough to get up and over these, and even so much so to even push some of these boulders or roll them out of the way, including this massive one that probably weighed over 1,000 pounds and was almost about 3 feet in diameter. So yes, it had more than enough ability to overcome these boulders, these large sizable boulders, and even it was hard to even really get a true good articulation test before it got dark and cold outside. So I went ahead and backed it up on a hill that was actually much steeper than it looks here. I was able to get tilted with measurement on the cab up to almost about 20 degrees tilt at the center of the dash. So nothing near like what I've done in my past Land Rovers and things like that, but still a sizable on the tilt and able to get that camper twisted and really stretch out the springs in the subframe. This is the EarthCruiser subframe, and they're roughly 4-inch long springs, so about 2 inches of movement in each direction. And you can see here the camper tilted off to one side, as I also have a wheel up on one corner about 2 feet up and the other side about 1 foot up. So I get a little bit of a cross axle situation, about a 3 feet of cross axle between the front and the rear corners. And so that worked out pretty well. Here are some of the measurements that I gained from doing this. This may be helpful to you if you have a similar size vehicle or similar type of vehicle, or you're looking at buying one of these vehicles, whether from EarthCruiser or someone else, and also if you're looking at how this might compare with your stock Mitsubishi Fuso 4-wheel drive that you may have. The EarthCruiser subframe that I do have has springs that are about 4 inches in length, and so those springs would essentially allow roughly up to 4 inches of travel, but with compression they really only allow about 2 inches of travel in each direction. And this certainly shows out at the bumper, where I did measure a little, just right about 2 inches of up travel or down travel, and the same really with the tires. And also the same at the bump stops, which actually is about 3 inches of clearance between the top of the leaf frame to the bottom of the bump stops. These are the Sumo Spring bump stops, which do have some compression built into them, but I could only get them to about 1 inch of the bump stops, so about 2 inches of movement up towards them and about 2 inches spread apart from them. I can never get the bump stops actually compressed, so I do presume there's still a little bit more movement out of the frame that can get as I get this more weighted. As I saw at my pass-through frame that I built, I actually got about up to almost 5 inches of sideways travel at the upper corners there, and that was much more than I had anticipated. So I have to redesign really my seals for my pass-through frame. And also about 2 to a little more than that inches in the up travel at these corners. And so that is the measurements that I got at the frame and how the camper and the pass-through frame twist or move from each other, which is also all matches up really with what the subframe allows for travel. This articulation test showed me that I have more movement between the camper and the cab than I anticipated. So I'm going to have to redesign my cab to camper pass-through seals and connection points. So I'll go over that a little more in my next video, some ideas I have there. In the meantime, let me show you a little bit about driving experience with this cab over, where you can actually literally look down right over the tires. You're sitting right over it and see exactly its alignment in relation to these boulders. Incredible view from that driver's seat, looking right down those front wheels. Thank you for sharing with others who might also gain something from this. Thank you for watching, sharing, and subscribing to my channel. And certainly lots more coming up as I start building out this interior.